Hello all, it's Marco from Random Door Media with another video on the game Rising World. Ever since Rising World switched over to using the Unity engine, I had been waiting for the developers to add in the random world generation. That happened at the end of October 2022, and I was pretty happy with the results. I think the randomly generated landscape looks great and offers a lot of cool and interesting locations to build on. The current version of Rising World is lacking in survival elements, so there's not much to do with regards to surviving. There's hunger and thirst and farming, so it's a very casual style of survival. But there's no threats, there's no questing or location to explore. Unlike the Java version, which has enemies and I believe there's horses and there's equipment and there's dungeons, the current version just basically has exploration. However, the Unity version does have creative elements that are many and varied. There are many block shapes and textures to choose from, as well as a handy user interface to assist with building. For more information on this aspect of the game, see my video on Rising World Tips and Tricks. So that's why I'm going to do some of the creative mode to make something. I've been making structures and dabbling in creative mode with various crafting and building style games going all the way back to Minecraft 2010. In Rising World, I have started on some sort of harbor town. I found this really great looking bay that has access to a nearby ocean by two ways. There's this narrow channel, which I kind of picture would have smaller boats coming through, and then a wider channel, which maybe larger boats would come in and out. And then in the middle is this sort of tall island, which maybe one day I'll put a lighthouse on top of it or something like that. I could have a little house at the bottom with a dock, and that's where the lighthouse keeper would live, stairs going up to a lighthouse, something like that I'm picturing. Over here, I've already started on the main structure itself. Well, this isn't the structure, this is actually just the land that the town is going to be built on. Here, I built up the seawall, so that the town is on an elevated area. And then eventually I'll have wooden docks that extend out into the water. Maybe join me on a journey while we take a look at building a little harbor town. Building takes a bit of time, and it's difficult to maintain dialogue on something that takes that long. Therefore, I'm going to go with a format where I'm just going to record my gameplay building the structure, and then I'm doing a voiceover play-by-play afterwards. Since this town was going to be based around a harbor, thereby docks and ships, I thought that one of the first buildings I came up with would be a Dockmaster station. So this would be a small building that was near the docks themselves, and it would be an office where the ship captains would have to come in and check in and maybe check their deliveries and have their cargo hold verified and so on. So that's the building which I'm working on here. The first floor is going to have a trim of stone brick, and then I went with this plaster look for the walls itself. Because I'm going to go with a medieval building kind of look, where the building has white walls that are made of plaster and then wooden trim. I think that quite a few of the buildings will have this look. Right now I'm doing the second floor. I wanted the second floor to jut out a bit just for a bit of definition. For the second floor, I also wanted to make the walls thinner too. You see that I decided to make the plaster walls a bit thinner. Once again, just to make the walls stand out a bit better. Every so often I make a mistake. You're going to see that quite often. I'll have to take down something because I've made a mistake of some kind. Right over here, I realized, I was whoops, this place here, this gap is 2 spaces, but on the other side it's 1. So I took all it down and replaced it so it's 1, so that everything looks symmetrical. And I got this little error on the side again. Fortunately, when in creative mode, it only takes 2 whacks with the pickaxe in order to take that down. I do realize much later in the video, though, that in creative mode, there is an easy way of taking down blocks. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen towards until near the end of this video. Now I'm working on the peaked roof area. So the floor is going to have the main floor where there'll be like the Dockmaster's office, and then the second floor will be like a storage room. Eventually I'm going to have a crane and pulley system so that crates and barrels will be stored on the second floor if they're like confiscated or kept for examination, that kind of thing. The overall motif is going to be this wooden frame look with the white plaster walls. Every so often you'll see I'll make a change just because I realize it looks better a different way. Like here I wanted to put more of the wooden frame in, and I wanted to match the other side. More of the plaster walls on the other side. And here I wanted to make a door frame. I don't know how often I'm going to do this by making details like actually putting door frames in and window frames. I might just leave like a gap and just put a door in there. After all, I'm not making like a game level. I'm making this for fun because it's fun to do and it's fun to create. What I'm saying is I'm not going to get as detailed as I could. I once heard somebody describe Minecraft or compare Minecraft to like a hobby train kind of thing. Right here I have trouble with getting the window in. For some reason it was just sitting in the frame. So I used the precision placement instead, and that worked out great. I went for the wood tile roof. I thought it was fitting for the style of building and for the overall look that I'm going for with the town. Just back and forth, easy enough to get it done. I think there's a bit of a break there because I changed the time. It was getting dark, so I changed the time back to like morning again. And always do the underhangs. That way it looks like it's a real roof on the outside. There, so the basis of this building is done. I'm taking a look at the inside. Is there something I want to do? Something I want to do? I put in a second floor because I wanted to make a crane. The idea is that there's something that would a crane with a pulley system and ropes to haul merchandise and goods up into the second floor. So I'm going back and forth looking for the metal. Before I do the crane, I wanted to make a sign. This would be like just a standard sign outside that says like Dockmaster, the Dockmaster building, Dockmaster office, something like that. I went with the metal for a metal pole, and now I'm deciding, well, what to do for the sign itself. But then I came up with, oh hey, what about a wooden frame? So that way the frame of the sign is already there. I'm having a bit of trouble lining it up. I think I might eventually just go for the precision placement. Yeah, but it seems to line up okay. And then, of course, now I need the little attachment rods that connect the sign to the hanging rod. So I put those in. A little bit of detail, but it looks nice. Now the inside of the sign frame. Of course, at this time, there's no text. There's no pictures, so it just looks like a blank, like wooden board, but still looks nice. Now this is where I decided to start working on the crane that I was talking about. I have a bit of trouble placing it because of the block placement. If I kept it as a cube of its normal size, it would have fit no problem. But whenever you start changing the size of blocks, then they start getting difficult to line up when using the grid. So here's the basic part of the crane. It's just a wooden beam that sticks outwards. And then of course I need like another beam to attach it so that it looks like it looks legitimate. You could have everything just floating freely, but if you make something so it looks real, then it just looks better. I went back to metal cylinder to make a pulley. The idea is I'm going to have like a rope. So it'll be a rope that goes along the underside of the beam and then hangs down. And the idea is that there would be a hook on the end, so people on the second floor or in the Dockmaster station would be able to pull crates and cargo up and into the building for inspection. I simply took the rope fabric texture, made it into a very thin cylinder, and made that into rope. The other end of the rope just disappears there. I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I got the rope hanging down so they all look authentic. So now, if the crane is going to be hauling cargo up, well, where's the cargo coming from? So I decided maybe now's a good time to start working on the actual docks themselves. I decided to work on the outside of the dock. I had a few different options or ways I could have built it, so I just started off by making a frame out of wooden cubes. And extended out over here too, because I wanted it to be a bit longer. But then I came up with the idea, well, wait a minute, instead of making the whole thing one big rectangle, what if I had planks on top of it? So I created planks, and I thought that if I made them slightly smaller than one block, that they would have gaps in between them when I drew them out, but they don't. The planks are still exactly side by side with no gaps in between, so I thought, okay, that's fine. I'll just go with that, and then I put the planks all the way across, so now the wooden dock has their support, and now they got the planks for the top of the docks themselves. I made it out of 2 different wood. That way there's a bit of a contrast, so it doesn't all blend in together. So you can see that there is a support, and then there's the planks on top. I didn't realize how thick that was either. Like, the planks are only supposed to be 1 thick, and it turns out the planks are actually like 5 thick. It's hard to tell, but... And now I'm making these supports for the docks themselves, just these cylindrical support poles. Yeah, there I am taking down the extra planks. I'm like, oh my goodness. I didn't realize how thick I made these. And again, another layer. There, so now I decided to extend the dock out this way more. Of course, I'm going to be doing more with the docks as well. Eventually, there'll be shorter docks for like small rowboats and stuff to dock at. Doing all the supports, and although you don't have to, it's not necessary, there's no support mechanics in the game, I still make the supports go all the way down to the ground under the water. Every so often I make a mistake and I gotta dig that back up. I stop a moment to admire the floating pieces. I'm like, that's really cool. At this point, I realized, oh, there's a gap. Whenever I put the supports down where the dock planks were, it created the gap. So I go in and I use the precise placement in order to put the cylinders back in place. I do that all the way down to the end, and then I bring them back up to the size I want them to be. There, looks good, so I just copied the planks over and bring the planks down here to finish off this dock over here. At this point, I start to get a bit more careful about making sure I'm not creating or placing too many blocks. Like, I'm keeping an eye on the guide so that when it tells me it's 22, I know I have 1 layer, not 22 by 4, for example. Okay, so the people that are coming in from the ships, they need a way to get up into the town itself. So I chose another wood type and decided to go in and create stairs that lead up. So I take down the bit of the battlements here. I took out the stairs there because the stairs aren't supposed to go right up to the wall. They're supposed to be uniform here. I make the blocks a bit smaller because I want them to look like planks and not just giant cubes. But I make the little landing here, so when you get to the top... Oh! Change the time of day again. So that the stairs go up to a landing, and then that will lead into the town itself. I decided the stairs weren't wide enough, so I decided to make the stairs wider. I don't have any railings for the stairs. Eventually I do have railings for that balcony, though. And it doesn't look right without supports, so I choose a different wood type and make these cylindrical supports and make some horizontal supports so that they look correct. Although the game doesn't require it, there's no stability. It just it looks aesthetically pleasing if it looks correct. So I decided to make these supports down the stairs so it looks like the stairs were actually supported by logs, and then make a few horizontal supports as well. This is where I start working on the railing. I decide to land so that I get a better view of the scale. I find that sometimes when I'm flying and I make stuff, I don't actually quite get the scale correct, so something might be too small. It doesn't take long to get the safety rails here done. Made out of different wood again. I like using different wood just so it stands out more. If you use the same colored wood or the same texture wood, everything just starts like blending in together. I like things that stand out better. Now this part, I got the idea from looking at pictures. I noticed that some old-fashioned docks have like these ropes wrapped around some of the support pillars. So I decided to do the same. I made these cylinders out of rope, the rope textures, and I used the precision placement and placed them and slid them down so they overlap the support pillars. I changed the size of some of them so they weren't all exactly the same. I made a few of these circles to make them look like bundles of ropes that were just lying down on the that were placed on the docks, and a few chests and barrels just to make it look like people have been working here. There's some cargo set aside that needs to be put somewhere. And making full use of the game's ability to copy shapes, copy textures. At this point, I realized, you know what? The ropes wrapped around the pillars aren't there just for looks. They're actually, in some pictures I looked at docks, the ropes actually make like a handrail of sorts, like a safety rail. So that's why I copied the rope over and decided to do that on the whole docks. So it looks like the rope gets wrapped around a support pillar and then gets dragged over to the next one, wrapped around that one, and so on. Because it sort of acts like a barrier, helps prevent the crates and chests from falling into the water, or hopefully stop people from falling into the water. I just did some more of the rope wraparound. Copied the rope and pasted it over. Yeah, being able to copy and paste textures and shapes is extremely handy. Once again, I'm keeping an eye to make sure that I'm not doubling up on the blocks I'm placing. Make sure that it's like 8 and not 8 by 2. Just one more support at the very end, because it just seemed kind of odd that the support pillar didn't go right to the end. Had a bit more fun with this. I'm like, what other things can I place on the dock so they look correct? So I put a few more open barrels, and then over here decided to put some more cargo as well, put a few more barrels at the end, because this is stuff that's could be on standby because the Dockmaster hasn't gotten around to inspecting it yet or something like that. A few more coils of rope. And I decided to put a little bit of rope sticking out of that just to make it obvious that it's a coil of rope with one strand sticking out. Oh, I was going up the stairs and I noticed, hey, this one step is not aligned correct. So I take it down, put it back in, replace it. Okay, so I need a set of stairs. Take down a bit of the bricks. And then over here, I'm thinking that maybe there should be a sort of a fence of sorts that goes around the Dockmaster's yard, because maybe excess cargo would be stored there. So I do something similar that I did on the dock. I make a cylindrical fence post, and then I put some rope around it, Pretty much identical to what I did on the dock, except this is just going to be a like a fenced-in area. Then I had an idea. Wait a minute, instead of me making these posts over and over again, what if I blueprinted these? This is the first time that I've actually dealt with blueprints in this version of Rising World. So here I am, blueprinting this fence, so it's just a post and a strand of rope. I created the blueprint of it, but now I'm like, well, where do I get the blueprint from? Like, how do I use the blueprint? I made a blueprint table, just put it in my office over here, went through, created the blueprint, that's where it is. And now I can use the blueprinted item, copy, and place those over and over again, instead of me having to create those individually, kind of like what I did on the dock. I will probably be using the blueprints a lot more often, now that I know how they work and how easy they are to use, too. So I just use this rope and post fencing to enclose the Dockmaster's area. Now, something else I wanted to use blueprints on was the cargo. So we have some treasure chests and we have some barrels, but what's missing are wooden crates. And the game doesn't have any crates right now, so I decided to come up with some crates myself. I wanted to create just a simple cube-looking structure that would look like it was a crate of goods. I decided to use this texture here as the basis for the crates, and I was going to make some just planks to put around the edges to make it stand out more, but then I came up with the idea of using the window frames, just the plain wood frame, which is a square. I played around with this for a bit to get it to the right size, and I eventually put it on all the sides and the top just to add a bit of like definition, so it sort of stands out more. It's not just a cube with texture on it. And once it's done, I blueprinted that. There, so now I can plop down these crates anywhere that I want to. Yeah, so once again, created a blueprint. So now when I put down the blueprint of the crates, just get rid of some stuff from my inventory. When I put these down, I realized, hey, you can also change the sizes of these as well, too. So I make a few small ones, I stack some of them so it looks like they're stacked crates, and I just put a bunch of crates around. Makes it look like, get rid of the original one. There, a bunch of crates so that it looks like there's cargo which is waiting to be unloaded or to be inspected. At this point, I realized, hey, it would be nice if we had some lighting, so I put some torches up on the walls. Eventually, once I get more buildings done, I would like to light up all the torches and do like a night scene. That'd be nice. This phase is done, so I did the quartermaster's building and the docks. Or one of the docks, like this is like barely started on the docks. I wanted to put some more cargo in the Dockmaster's area, so I decided to go inside and put some stairs there so I can go in and put some more items here too. More crates and barrels and chests. I realized there's a few errors, so I deleted some of the excess blocks. And just used the blueprinted crates. A few chests scattered about. I'm not going to go that detailed with the interior. Most buildings I won't. I just did it in here because there's the big opening that you can look through, so I just thought it'd be neat to throw a few things around there. Okay, so now I'm heading into the next stage. I've got the Dockmaster's building done and a bit of the docks done. I decided to start working on more of the buildings inside the town itself. At first I thought this looked kind of odd with all being the same cobblestone, so I decided to take this down. Once again, I still didn't realize at this point the creative mode way of getting rid of these blocks quicker. I do learn that in a bit. But I replaced these with this type of cobblestone, like a cobblestone pathway, just so it stands out better. There, so at this point, I decided to start working on the next building. Rearranging some of my blocks. I'm deciding on what I want to make the building out of. I wanted to make it out of brick. I want to make sure it's not one of the brick which is already in place, so I use a different type of brick. I'm going to be making a tall, slender building, but I still want a different kind of brick as a trim, just so it looks nicer, kind of stands out better. So I went with this brownish brick for the trim. And then the top part extends out a bit, so there's like a little bit of a, not a roof, but so there's a bit of an overhang, is what I'm trying to say. And I need a doorway, and I left a little window on the first floor, filling all these with all the walls. And then, this is where I realized I can take these down faster, because I decided to make, instead of making these the same color brick, I wanted to make them different. At this point, I realized, wait a minute, creative mode has a way of just deleting blocks. So I went and deleted those, and I went with the white plaster blocks here again, the ones I used on the Dockmaster building. Once again, I made them half size, so that way the trim sort of like stands out more. It gives it that 3D kind of look. And to also add more to the 3D kind of look, I put some supports around. And I thought, hey, why stop there? Let me get a bit more fancy, so I made these longer supports too. It's all about aesthetics, just making it look nice. Here I wanted to go with the stone slate roof, but I wanted to be a dark red in color. But I couldn't get the red to look how I wanted it. It kept looking too bright. It looks like red wine. And it wasn't the red I was looking for. So I thought, you know, for now, I'm just going to go with this orange tile. Good enough. Maybe I'll look into changing the color of the stone slate later on. These blocks here were just put in there so I can put the slopes in place for the roof. Nothing much to say here. It's a roof. Every so often I have to change the time of day. I think I edited those out of the video. What is this little tower going to be? This tower is going to be a clock tower. So here we go. We start off with a little tiny wall clock, but I'm going to change the size of it. When I was putting these clocks in, for some reason I had trouble getting it lined up. You notice me fiddling with it, and eventually I had to use the precise placement to get it exactly where I wanted to go. So I ended up doing that for all four sides. Move the clock around a position, and then just had to finagle it to get exactly where I wanted it to go. That's all the work that I've gotten done so far. If you have any suggestions about what type of building you want to see, like if you want to see a town hall or a tavern or an inn or some other building, maybe a temple, something like that, let me know in the comments. Right now I'm just doing a few simple flybys so we can show off the building so far. And then I'll bid everyone good day, because that's going to be it for this video. Take care, everyone.